See more and more people are joining. Welcome, everybody. Glad you can all make it. We'll just wait a couple of minutes to give more people time to join.
Hi, Abby. Hi, Maria. Hi, Dr. Vega. Hi, Frank.
Hey, Abby, how are you?
Ari. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Abby. Good afternoon.
So nice to see everyone. Thank you for this incredible opportunity. Dr. Vega was so generous to invite us.
Well, we have a great team that in services that are offered to our employees, that it's so wonderful to see that we could offer everything that the system has to provide for our employees in terms of nutrition, which is great.
Yeah. I will give it maybe another 2 minutes.
Katari, as we're about to get started, would you mind just sharing a little bit with us about the HOLA organization and the work and the, kind of the work that you do and your mission?
Yeah, so working with HOLA, we kind of work together as a group, not just with HOLA itself, but with other ERG groups and ODI, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. We come together to put out thoughts. We come together to put out ideas, how we can actually help the community, how we can help our employees. And basically kind of just work together to, bring different conversations, bring different things that can help us to work together as a team, and also to reach each other's goals, right? And mission, and what we can do to provide better services, to provide better things for our community, our people, not just for the Hispanic community, but for all community in general.
Yeah, I mean, real quickly, to add to what Katari said, pretty much employee resource groups, what they are is a group of people that get together that have similar characteristics, right? And basically what we want to do is we want to give a voice to everybody within the system. One of the things that we do, and that a lot of the other employee resource groups to do also, is to be inclusive. So for instance, a lot of our members aren't Latinx. They're not Latin, right? The whole point is for it to be inclusive, because if we start sticking only to our group, we actually end up doing the exact opposite of what we're trying to accomplish, right? So, we make sure to be inclusive. The other thing that we do is, at least with HOLA, we have like certain pillars, that we focus on. So we focus on culture, we focus on professional development, we focus on volunteering and community, and we focus on mental health and self-wellness, hence the reason why we are all here together, right? To talk to our members. So that's just, again, some of the bullet points about what an ERG is and what HOLA is. Be happy to talk to you more at length, but I prefer to give you all the time so that we can talk to the members.
Wonderful. We're very grateful to you and to Katari, Dr. Vega, for including us. And again, Dr. Vega will go ahead and introduce the program, and Maria and Jennifer. But to your point, Katari and Frank, the content we have available today is also available to the community. And the services that that Jennifer and Maria will be discussing are also available through our Mount Sinai doctors, physician practices to the community. So it's very exciting that we can, hopefully meet the 4 pillars or your mission. So thank you so much. And again, my name is Abby Schwartz. I'm very appreciative to be able to work with Aida, Maria, and Jennifer to have created and driven forward these wellness offerings for both our employees, our faculty, and our patients and caregivers for the past 12 years. So thank you so much for the and go ahead, Dr. Vega. Thank you.
All right, so just real quickly, I guess what I wanted to do is do like a brief intro so that I can let you all talk. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a great and wonderful weekend, and we want to welcome you to the Heritage of Latinx Alliance, also known as HOLA Employee Resource Group, to our guest speaker series. Today, we're fortunate to have an excellent panel that is going to talk about nutrition and a guide to our well-being. Again, I'm not going to take up a lot of time, so that we can also hopefully have towards the end a 15-minute question and answer session. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Vega. Just a reminder to everyone that if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A chat at the bottom. Not in the chat box, but in the Q&A chat. So with that being said, Dr. Vega.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aida Vega. I am a primary care physician, and I work at the 85th Street practice. I'm the senior medical director there, and also the vice chair for AM Care for the Department of Medicine. So I work a lot in the ambulatory space. As a primary care physician, which is the reason I'm here today, I get to see a lot of employees who are struggling in many areas of their life, both in terms of their wellness related to family care or how to incorporate their life with their job demands, many different areas. But one of the things that I find is very challenging is how to incorporate good nutrition and exercise into their life. And they spend a lot of time, many times I see them, they are overweight or obese. There's a national problem with being overweight and obese. As you know, anywhere from 40 to 50% of the population can be overweight and obese. And that's not different in our employees and our colleagues who are struggling with this across the board. It's not just, it's everyone, physicians as well as nurses, as well as everyone is struggling with these types of challenges. So we have, at Mount Sinai, we have had an initiative to develop wellness and nutrition for many years now. And I've been working with a panel with Maria Fraga, an RD in a CDE, and Jennifer Katuszewski, who's also been working with us, along with Abby Schwartz. And we've had a long tradition of working together to develop programs that help our community improve on many areas of their life. Today, we're going to focus on nutrition and exercise because I think that's at the forefront of what I hear, especially now that I'm getting, every year people come to see me for their annual wellness, and this is a primary conversation that takes place in all our visits. So from that, I'll take it over to, I don't know who wants to speak first, Jennifer or Maria.
So I will start the presentation. So Jennifer and I are both registered dietitians, diabetes educators with Mount Sinai. I do work at the 85th Street practice with Dr. Vega, but I also see patients at multiple locations throughout the network. I am a Hispanic registered dietitian. So with that said, I can understand the culture behind the foods that we eat as Hispanic, as a Hispanic community. So, I would like to start by, on slide 3, the things we'll be discussing today. We will be going over how to recognize the value of adopting a healthy nutrition lifestyle. Why is it important for us to think about what we eat? And at our conversations with our physician, or even if you come in to see Jennifer or myself, what are the things that we can discuss? We want to establish a nutrition lifestyle plan that is sustainable to yourself as an individual and also for your family, and how we can modify what we eat. And how can we guide you today to make small specific changes in what you're eating? How can you modify food choices for less sugar, less fat? Most of us are concerned with our weight, and we want to prevent cardiovascular disease as well as prediabetes and diabetes and other comorbidities. So eating healthy is an advantage to everyone here listening to us today. We definitely want to talk about the importance of exercise and why it's important for us to incorporate exercise into our lifestyle. Many of us have sedentary lifestyles at work. Many of us have, jobs that don't require a lot of physical activity. So how can we set time in our day and busy life to make small changes also and to get our steps in? And we will go over the ABCs, which is, A1C for the value for what we use to determine your risk for diabetes, as well as blood pressure. What is our goal for blood pressure, and why is it important to eat healthy and, avoid a high fat meal plan so that we can prevent cholesterol? I'm going to go on to slide 4 for us who are going through the slides together. So as a Hispanic dietitian, I feel like food is really important for us. We love to celebrate with food. We love to cook. We love to have family over. We love to feed our family. And so for us, food is really important. But I think overall, food is important for all cultures. This is how we celebrate and bring our families together. So we're definitely thinking about how we can make food a positive, nurturing experience. How can we shop for healthy food choices, for foods that we can prepare at home and share with our loved ones? And how can we create a healthy lifestyle so that, we feel good about ourselves, we have better energy at work and for our family when we're not working. And also using food as a form of a positive way of choosing things to make us feel good. I think like when we eat, it's important that we eat what we like to eat, that tastes good to us, that make us happy. And so this is where emotional eating may come in. Not always do we eat for hunger, but we may eat for other reasons. So using our internal cues, also using intuitive eating. So we've kind of really, building a relationship around healthy eating and eating foods that make us feel good. Acknowledging that it's important to take time to think about what we're going to eat. Many of us have busy lifestyles, so we don't have a lot of time to food shop or prepare meals in advance. So thinking about, your shopping list for when you are going to the market, and thinking ahead so that, you have food to take to work and snacks to carry as well. Becoming really focused with like your physical hunger. So you're eating when you're hungry, you're eating enough to the point of comfortable fullness. And we'll talk about later also about, how we all have an internal cue of hunger and fullness. And so, think about honoring your hunger. And many of us ignore this internal cue of not eating because we want to lose weight or because we're too busy at work, and that it only leads us to overeat later in the day. Next slide. Hold on, I'm sorry. Let me see here. Okay, so making food choices to build a healthy fridge and pantry. So think of writing a list of foods that you may want to purchase for your groceries for that week. Think ahead of like, what kind of meals would you like prepare that week for your family? When you visit your supermarket, the perimeter of the market is where you find the healthiest food choices. So think of when you enter your supermarket, what do you see first? You may see the dairy, and you might find that, the eggs and the cheese. And you walk around the market, you find your meats, and you find some, animal proteins, and you find your vegetables. So think of like, keeping your focus around the outer part of the market, because the inner part of the market is where all the shelf, box, and canned food items will be found. And one of the things I want to really share is there isn't any like good or bad food choice or food that you should really, be avoiding. And I think that we hear that a lot when we talk about food, like this food is bad and this food is good, but it comes down to eating in moderation. And when you stop eating with guilt, it can help you avoid uncontrollable cravings that many of us can lead ourselves into feeling deprived. And so sometimes that leads us to overeating later of the foods that we actually truly want to eat, which we want to prevent because of reasons of calories, or, we want to prevent uncontrolled diabetes or our blood pressure. So let's talk about, how can we create a shopping list? So next slide. So think of eating according to your budget. Think about using your shopping experience as sticking to what's on sale that week at the supermarket. Also use your flyers. A lot of supermarkets, I know the one that I shop at has digital coupons that you could that you can keep on an app, and that could allow you to get additional discounts. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to move because my room just turned. I just lost my light.
You want, maybe Jennifer can.
I'm sorry. So, so think of the meals you may want to prepare for your family. Keep things simple. I would say also one of the things I always encourage my patients to do is just kind of think of like keeping staple foods in your refrigerator at home. I would suggest like things like eggs, canned fish, like tuna and salmon, avocados, another great, vegetable to have at home, leafy green vegetables, canned beans is another great food source. As Hispanics, we love beans and rice, beans and casseroles. You can add beans to salads. You can even make hummus to go with like your favorite vegetable. That could be a great snack as well. And also shop color, because color means nutrients. Next slide. So next slide is all about sodium. So if you look at this picture, you have a tomato and then you have some canned items beside it. Fresh is always best, but not always can we buy fresh food, fresh vegetables or produce for our family because of time, or maybe because of cost. Looking at this picture, I also want to say, use your local vendors, like your street vendors. They do have great produce. They have vegetables and fresh fruit available. I know on Madison Avenue, there's vendors as well as by 85th Street. I know in Jackson Heights and Queens, and also in other neighborhoods, utilize those items to, eat fresh produce. But when you look at the canned foods, if you're shopping for canned items, look for labels that say no sodium added or no salts, because this will help you also lower the sodium content in your food, especially if you're watching your blood pressure. The recommendation for sodium is 2,300 milligrams, which actually it adds up pretty fast, like a chicken bouillon that you may add to soups or cooking. Or if you're cooking like sofrito and you're adding like the sazons, those have a lot of sodium. But if you're buying canned foods, always consider rinsing the actual vegetable under cold running water. So that will also decrease the sodium content that you're going to be using in your cooking. The next slide is just items that you might purchase that have hidden sodium. So if you're looking at these foods, you see Oreos and some Eggos, as well as some like chicken dishes that you can purchase that are just quickly heatable in the microwave, and breads and salad dressing. So these food items do have some a large amount of sodium if you look at the content here. And again, it's not per box or per like actual item, like it's not like all the bread or all the Oreos, it's per serving. So like the serving size of Oreos would be 3, and you're getting about 11% of your sodium intake. So, think about reading your labels when you're comparing foods at the market. If you go on to the next slide, you really want to look at the nutrition label, because this will give you a lot of information. The nutrition fact starts with the serving size that is according to the calories right below it. So in this scenario, this food item is 240 calories, but that's for about a cup and a half of this specific food. If you look at the sodium content, it is 20%. So we're aiming for food items with a sodium content of 5% or less if you're looking at sodium in food products that you're purchasing. Next slide. So when we talk about sugars, this is where we can get a lot of empty calories. So think of refreshments like sodas and juices, fruit punch, lemonades, iced teas, snacks such as, cookies and chips, just, things that we sometimes keep at our desk at work or in our bag, or we keep at home even for our children to have as fun food. But these foods have a lot of hidden calories and sugar. And so for our patients who have diabetes or pre-diabetes or just want to cut back on our calories, these are the kind of things you don't want to keep around. Things that you see are typically things you're going to eat. So limit these food items, especially because of the empty calories. You should try to switch these items for something more nutritious like water, seltzers, apple, fresh fruits and vegetables. And we can go over snacks along the way on this presentation of things that you can consider to have as a quick snack while at work. And then slide 10 is just really brings things into columns. So nutritious foods that we recommend. So think of healthy fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So when you're thinking about meal planning, like where do you start? I would say half your plate should be filled with non-starchy vegetables. And that would be all your leafy greens, your carrots, as you can see, kale, asparagus. If we're, cooking like Hispanic cuisine, it could be okra, it could be chayota, it could be string beans, carrots, watercress is another great one. 1/4 of your plate should definitely be lean protein. So think of chicken, fish, eggs, tofu, lean pork, lean beef. It could also be beans, which also falls into proteins. And then the other 1/4 would be your carbohydrates. Preferably you want to go for complex carbs, those that are filled with fiber, like quinoa, brown rice, whole grain breads, whole grain cereals. And I would say sprinkle your meals with some seeds and nuts, or you can even add avocado, because avocado is also a monounsaturated fat and it's very heart healthy. So that would be a great way to consider, meal planning. And then when you think about portions, you can take out your measuring cups, just kind of refresh your memory, like what is a cup of a cereal, or what's a cup of rice? And you can use your fist as a means of kind of estimating like what is a cup. I know we all have different size fists, but that gives you an idea. A fist is like a small apple or a tennis ball. It could also work not only for like rice, potato, and pasta, but it could also help you determine like the serving size of a fresh fruit. And then with slide 13, this is the plate. I love this plate because it kind of brings it all together. You have many, many vegetables to choose from. And sometimes patients tell me, I don't like vegetables, Maria. So we kind of go over on like, there has to be 1 or 2 vegetables that we can bring into your meal plan. It could just be lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers. It could be, other things like string beans and carrots, as you see here. But you definitely want to build your meals around non-starchy, plant-based food. This is what's going to help you manage your blood pressure. It will help regulate your blood sugar. It also helps with calories, because if your plate is majority vegetables, it will take longer for you to eat your meal. There's a lot of crunch and color and vitamins, and the fiber will help you fill up as well. And then you have your protein and your carbs to kind of bring it all together. There's been studies that show if you start your meal with the vegetables and then lead into the protein, leaving your carbs to the end of the meal, it may help you regulate your blood sugars. It may also help you eat less of the carbohydrates, because by the time you get to the carbohydrates, your hunger scale is not as great as it was when you started the meal. And then slide 14 is just building your meal plan. This just gives you a shopping list, like we said before. Kind of make a shopping list before you head out to the market, because shopping when you're hungry could be very tempting. So eating before going out for your groceries may be a good idea to kind of, you know, start doing. And here you have a nice list for you to utilize for when you go out to get your groceries. This is just a sample meal plan that we created. It's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And as you can see, it's just a generalized way of bringing together your food groups, your cereals for breakfast with like non-fat milk. It also be a plant-based milk like oat milk or almond milk. And then your protein would be like your boiled egg or your nuts or yogurt. And lunch and dinner, again, it's pretty straightforward. You really want to build around the non-starchy vegetables. And when you think about meal planning, you know, if you are a family who cooks, cooking extra and freezing some for another meal or carrying it for work, it could be a great way of you cutting down the expenses of shopping outside of the house for breakfast and lunch when you're at work. And you'll definitely eat healthier. And then when you're hungry, you have exactly what you need to eat accessible nearby. You don't have to go spend time and money shopping for your lunch at work. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer, who's going to go on to talking to you about the importance of connecting with your food.
Hello, thank you so much. Thanks, Maria. Something I want to add to these the last slides that Maria discussed, building a healthy shopping list and the meal plan, they're all available on our wellness website, which one of our last slides has the link as well. So any of those links we can also try and provide you at the end of the session or virtually afterwards. Okay, I don't know if we can go to, the next slide. It has a little, has a gentleman pouring his orange juice into his, there we go. So, so again, thank you, Maria. For the second part of our presentation, we're going to talk a little bit more about mindful eating, how to connect to others and to connect to our food while disconnecting digitally. We'll also talk a little bit about movement and its impact on our health, a little bit about ways to relieve stress, and then we'll end with some of the Mount Sinai service offerings that we have here at the Wellness Department. So first, I just love this image because I feel like we can all relate to it. It's the gentleman pouring his orange juice into his cereal because he's just too busy looking at his newspaper. He has his laptop open, right? We can all kind of relate. We make mistakes when we're just super busy or trying to multitask. So the reason why this image is included in this slide is because we really want to try and show you the importance of disconnecting. You know, putting our phones down while we're having a meal, maybe connecting with colleagues, connecting with our family, things that we can try to do during our meal times to really engage with our food. Because we know digestion really starts with like kind of our eyes and our mouth. And so that part of enhancing just our availability of engaging with the food will be even that more enhanced by disconnecting. Okay, next slide. The next slide just talks about overall movement. And because Maria and I are diabetes educators, we always focus on blood sugar. So that's why the slide has a little bit about blood sugars in there. But, you know, we know that movement can not only help improve our blood sugars, but also prevent things like prediabetes, prevent diabetes. The movement is just so important to, you know, not only helping with our weight, but helping with our stress, which we'll talk about a bunch. And just improvements in lowering our A1C, blood pressure, and cholesterol. So, you know, we want to try to recommend, you know, at least short walks after meals, because that also enhances digestion as well as improving all of those levels. Okay, next slide. Okay, so how do we get started? First, we talked to Dr. Vega. We talked to our doctor. That's always the first step getting started. If exercise is not something that's come naturally to you or something that you've done before, you know, definitely talk to your doctor before. Maybe there's some medication changes we need to talk about. Maybe you've had an injury in the past that you just want to address before starting an exercise plan. So seeing your annual PCP for a visit is a great place to start. Secondly, you want to choose your activity, make it fun, right? Because exercise can sometimes say, oh, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that. But if you try to make it fun, it won't feel as much of a chore. So walking, swimming, dancing, Pilates, even if it's just going out with a friend for a walk, or, you know, we live in New York City in the 5 boroughs. We have so many like free classes that are always offered. If you try a new class, you know, try to get it for free. So those are lots of different options out there, but, you know, trying to think about things that you're really interested will make it stick. Step 3 is set a goal. So a goal doesn't always have to be weight. It can be blood sugar, like Marie and I always address, or it could be, you know, goals in distance or time. You know, oh, I go for about a mile walk. You know, maybe next time we can make it 1.25 miles. So it doesn't always have to be weight, you know, related. It really can be many different ways of setting goals to achieve. And lastly, if you are diabetic, we do recommend checking blood sugars pre and post exercise. And if you need any medication adjustments, definitely talk to your doctor prior. Okay, next slide. So we know that physical movement can help, like we talked about, reduce your blood sugars. It can also help reduce your cholesterol. So the LDL cholesterol, when you go for your annual visit, you'll probably get this checked. And so you want to look at your LDL and your HDL cholesterol. And so these, if they in any way are, if your LDL is elevated at your annual visit, ways that we can improve this is through exercise. So reducing your LDL, which is kind of like the lousy cholesterol, and increasing the HDL cholesterol, which is sort of, I always think of it as the happy cholesterol. So it goes easy ways to remember it. And also exercise may lower your chance of heart disease and stroke. And it also improves our mood and decreases stress. So even just going out for that 10-minute walk after lunch or getting some fresh air, getting some sunshine, I promise you it improves, you know, our energy, getting back, you know, into work or even in the evening, connecting with our family, maybe in a short walk can really help to decrease stress. Next slide. Well, when we get to it, the next slide is a little bit about our core. And we included a little bit of exercises, our 2 favorite exercises, just simplistic crunches, bicycle crunch. These are exercises that we just love to recommend if patients or employees don't have time to do all the things that we just mentioned about getting out or going swimming or going for a bike ride, right? These are simple calisthenics that you could do at home. So it's going back to gym class, sit-ups, push-ups, or things like that maybe you can try to do at home. These are 2 great exercises that help to improve your core. And when we improve our core, it can also help relieve any back pain and other injuries. And actually in the next slide, it talks about how the core can help you with more like stability and enhance. So things like tying your shoes, or even when you go for a walk, the strength there, the more strength you have in your core, the better you are at those exercises. And it also helps prevent injury, which we know can be detrimental to, you know, helping us on our course. So yeah, so that's the slide. So yeah, it leads to better balance, better stability. Core muscles make it easier to do lots of physical activities. So yeah, we definitely want to work on strengthening our core whenever we can. Next slide. All right, so the American Heart Association says or recommends moderate activity of 150 minutes per week or high intensity exercise 75 minutes per week. So that's where we want to focus in. So 150 minutes per week is like 30 minutes a day. 75 minutes per week is kind of like almost like 15 minutes a day. It's really quick. So if you're doing like biking or running or more high intensity exercise, like a spin class, it's really just short spurts will actually really help your health and your heart health. Here at Mount Sinai, we have a wellness challenge. It's called Reach Your Peak. You may have seen emails in the past for it, or maybe you've even joined in the past, but look out for Reach Your Peak starting again in 2023 in the summer. It's a wellness challenge that you can do individually, or you can do it as a team. In the past, we've had amazing teams come together, and real fun team names too. So we encourage all employees to either do it individually or with a team or anybody in your department. Historically, most participants try to get 10,000 steps a day, but you don't have to. You can set your own goals of whatever you're at. But we love Reach Your Peak, and we're looking forward to it starting soon. So definitely look out for emails for that. And the next slide talks about some fitness apps. So if you do the Reach Your Peak Wellness Challenge, you can look to some of these apps. So MyFitnessPal, MyRun, or your Android or iPhone might have its own health app. I also love Runkeeper. It's a free app for your phone that tracks your runs. So we talked about earlier how you can set distance or time as a goal you might have, whether it's walking or running. And Runkeeper keeps like your runs from the previous time or walks and maps it out for you and actually keeps you motivated. So I love that app as well. So I think fitness trackers can be great. These are all ones that I highly recommend. Next slide. So strategies for dealing with stress. We talked about exercise a bunch already. So movement, exercise, it's really the feel-good endorphins. So, exercise and opening up are actually our last two strategies. And I love that because they can be done simultaneously, right? We can walk and maybe talk to a friend, or we could meet a colleague, out for a short walk and talk about our day. We can also, get on the phone and talk to a friend. So I think walk and talks are always really fun, and it's a great way for you to exercise and open up at the same time, which is a huge stress reliever. Also, there's lots of breathing exercises and meditations. In the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about Mount Sinai Calm, which actually has free meditations on their website. Those are great for you to access. So definitely visit the Mount Sinai Calm website for meditations. But there's also different apps that you can use for meditation, free apps, as well as paid apps, but it's all good. And even if it's just meditation for you is putting on your favorite song and having a quiet moment, that's what works for you, and we love it. Visualization and guided imagery, like maybe thinking about a vacation or sort of a happy place, is also a great way to stress relief, and maybe talking to a colleague or a friend about somewhere that you've been. And that visualization and imagery is also really, really helpful for our stress reduction. Okay, next slide. Okay, so our Mount Sinai Employee Services, I know in time, I'll go through this really quickly. So first and foremost, that annual PCP visit. We absolutely recommend it. Go see Dr. Vega, go see your PCP. Make an appointment, make it soon so you have it, something to look forward to. So if you have your PCP visit in a month or 2 months, that's, maybe your goal is to, okay, last year my cholesterol was elevated. I want to, see if I can really work on that in the next 2 months, make sure, so I go back for my annual, my labs are better. Whatever goals you have in mind, it's important to schedule that PCP visit so you have it. I mentioned Mount Sinai Calm. That's the website right there. So there's visualizations, yoga, meditation, music therapy on the Mount Sinai Calm website. So definitely take advantage of that. Our third program that we have is a diabetes care program. Marie and I are part of that. So if you do or have a diagnosis of diabetes, whether type 1 or type 2, it is a coordinated program with a Mount Sinai PCP or endocrinologist, and you also have coordination with the pharmacy department as well as personal nutrition. So the diabetes care program is an offering for UMR Mount Sinai employees who have a diagnosis of diabetes. So we welcome you to email us at wellness@mountsinai.org, or Marie and I personally. You can just shoot us an email if you're interested in the diabetes care program. We also have personal nutrition. So if you're not diabetic, but maybe have pre-diabetes or your BMI is greater than 25, we also have personal nutrition that's an offering for all insurance plans. But if you have UMR, it talks about a little bit about the copay there. And then lastly, we have the Centers for Stress and Resilience and Personal Growth. They are wonderful. I can't talk about them enough. They're a great service and it's available for all employees at Mount Sinai. I absolutely recommend them. We didn't include their link, but we can afterwards. Maybe I'll share it with the team, the HOLA team, and we can make sure you guys all have the links to their website. But you can also just Google the Centers for Stress and Resilience and Mount Sinai, and it has their email and their phone number. And I absolutely recommend them because they're wonderful, the whole team. Okay, next slide. In summary, we all didn't go too fast at the end there, but in summary, you know, establishing a nutrition lifestyle. I hope Maria and I provided you some positive examples of how to kind of get started reading food labels, looking at ingredients, plate method, and how that all can be incorporated into your meal planning. And then making time for movement and exercise. Obviously, it's small changes can make big returns. Reaching out to your PCP if you're interested in the Mount Sinai Calm, diabetes care program, personal nutrition, or centers for stress resilience. Please, let us know. We're happy to help coordinate anything for you. And then share your observations and wins with your family and friends, because I've had many employees who see me say, I was referred to you by my colleague or my friend at work because they used your services and loved it. So pass on the information where you see needed. And then come see us because we'd love to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. That was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all for joining today.
I didn't know if before I got to a question, someone did have a question, but if anybody else on the panel wanted to add something, since we did have a couple of minutes.
Well, I wanted to mention that one of the things that I try to emphasize when my patients come to see me for help with how their LDL cholesterol are doing, or their weight is doing, or and they once they come out, they get very discouraged in many ways, because sometimes there's so many things to do. And one of the things to remember when you're doing lifestyle modification, whether it's walking more, eating better, shopping better, focusing more on your personal growth, you can't do it all at once. And if you start thinking that that's going to happen, you're going to be not doing anything. So those you're going to end up next year, you will have done nothing to improve your health or your mental health because you get so overwhelmed. So I always tell patients to pick a goal. And for that goal, it should be consistent. And maybe you can't walk 30 minutes a day, but you can walk 15. Maybe, patients will come to say to me, oh, I have 30 pounds to lose. Don't worry, doc. I'll be 30 pounds lighter in 3 months or 4 months. And I'll go, no, we don't need that. You're not going to be 30 pounds lighter in 4 months. Let's focus on a good target for you. Maybe a pound a month or 2 pounds a month or less. Let's just see what you can reasonably do based on your challenges at home. So I feel like sometimes this is a lifetime of change. It's not an immediate change. And if you get too overly anxious about immediate results, it's going to defeat the purpose of what you're trying to do. So I think that's very important, because we cover a lot of stuff that you can do, but this team is telling you that they can help you, but you don't need to do all these things at once if you want to be able to make some changes in your life. I don't know if the panel wants to comment on that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think that for the presentation, we're throwing out lots of different ideas. And so it may just be 1 or 2 things that stick or really resonate with our employees. So we're happy to sort of explore and let them know, let the employees know all these service offerings that are available, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, small, like we said at the end, like the small steps can really give big returns. So, if something stuck with you today or resonated with you, just know that that's available. And yeah, we'll be happy to work with every employee to help them reach even if those individual goals that they may have.
And one last thing is what's probably on everybody's mind is, why should I do all these things when I can just take those new medications, inject myself once a week and lose all the weight that I need to? And that's the end of it. And well, there are a lot of great medications now for losing weight. There's the GLP-1s, which you've heard about, Wegovy and Trulicity, Ozempic, and they're very effective in helping you lose weight. But what we're speaking about, even if you lose weight and you use these kinds of medications, quickly lose weight or not lose weight quickly, these are lifestyle changes that will allow you to have a better health, better, even if you lose weight, which is very important, you still have to have heart health. You still have to be able to have, your joints have to work well. Movement is so important. Maintaining a good diet, even if you lose weight on these medications, are very critical. So yes, the medications are available, and they've added a great amount to our treatment of overweight and obesity and prediabetes. But I must say that unless you follow some of these lifestyle changes, it's going to be very hard to maintain anything on these medications. And for that, I'll turn it over to the Q&A.
Thank you for that, everybody. And, I'm listening to some of what you said, and it is so true. It is a lifestyle change. I often tell people, I'm a Puerto Rican man. No way I'm giving up my rice and beans and pork. However, things in moderation, like Dr. Vega, Jennifer, and Maria have been saying. Everything is in moderation is what I need to have, because I do like me some pork. Let's go to one question that we have here. For healthy eating, how often should I be shopping for my food? Once a week or 2 to 3 times per week?
So this is Maria speaking. I have multiple places I like to shop. There isn't really like one market. Plus, I also work in different neighborhoods throughout New York City as a registered dietitian. So I take advantage of the stores and markets in these communities. They usually have great prices, a lot of fresh produce. You may have a favorite, place for where you shop for your vegetables, and then you might have another place where you prefer to buy your proteins. But I think, like I said before, like planning your week ahead can help reduce the anxiety around cooking and shopping and what am I going to eat today and tomorrow? What am I going to cook for my family? What am I going to pack for lunch? Maybe start your week by, thinking what you're going to prepare for the next 2 to 3 days. So at least, you have food that you can come home and prepare a quick meal. And again, I feel like meals that you prepare at home should be done within like a 30-minute span. Like you should create your proteins and your carbs, and then you can do your like stir-fry vegetables. I didn't mention, but you can think of vegetables and how can you prepare them now in the summer. You could roast them, barbecue, put them on the grill. You could put them in the oven. You can, stir fry them with, all the sazon and garlic and onions, and give it a lot of great flavor. And then you can throw your proteins in there and make one meal in one plate. It could be really simple. So yeah, for food shopping, I say it depends on your time. But if you don't have a lot of time, you can shop once a week, or you can do twice a week, and you can do multiple places within, where you work. It could be near home or near work, but take advantage of again, the street vendors that sell the vegetables. You can get great prices there.
And not go shopping hungry, right?
Yeah, because then it's tempting, and all the foods you want are usually sweets and fun foods. So yeah, to keep the temptation away, you try to get to the market when you're not hungry, maybe after breakfast and lunch. Yeah.
Next question is, I get discouraged when I plateau. I will lose weight, then just stay at that point, or gain the weight back. What should I do in that case?
Yeah, no, it's challenging, and we can, kind of look at different long-term strategies to see, you know, maybe we're missing something. Maybe we could take a look and take a deep dive into our movement and our exercise, stress reduction, things like that. That could be a helpful tool in our toolbox to you know, maintaining our goals.
I also think, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say sometimes we start off really fast and we make a lot of changes. And somehow our body realizes that, you know, maybe we're hungry, like we just cut back too fast and too many things. I think like our own cultural food can still be part of, you know, things that we include in our cooking. I think it goes back to portion size. You know, maybe see what a cup of rice is, maybe do half a cup of rice, half a cup of beans. And ideally, when I do my recommendations, when I sit with a patient, you know, cutting back on anything will promote weight loss, will improve your blood pressure, will improve your blood sugars. So it's not being a perfect patient or perfect person that you're perfectly, you know, following every recommendation that we've given you today. But like Dr. Vega said, like small changes, sustainable changes, realistic changes, and, you know, slowly you're backing up to, you know, eventually reaching, you know, that plate method that we showed you before, where you're creating half a plate of vegetables and not half a plate of rice and beans. So really making your meal mostly plant-based with lean proteins and good fats, your nuts, your avocado, you know, even if you're using your cultural, you know, usual carbohydrates like the plantains and the cassava and the yuca and the, you know, the French fries, like, think of the portion, think of the frequency, and how maybe you can switch out those foods for something more fiber rich. So it'll help you feel fuller and will help you also maintain better regulated blood sugars and blood pressure and maybe reduce your cholesterol.
Thank you. Next question is, what is a healthier starch alternative to rice and potatoes?
Sure, I can give some suggestions. So, I mean, I think rice and potatoes are completely fine to have. But if you're looking for more high fiber carbohydrates, there are some alternatives. So brown rice. So the reason why it's different, so carbohydrates are about the same, but the fiber content is different. So we may feel fuller on eating a little bit less brown rice than maybe white rice because it has less fiber. There are other alternatives such as quinoa, buckwheat, farro. There's lots of different grains that are really nutritious, that have like the full intact grain that will help us feel a little bit more full. It really has that good fiber content that helps us reduce our cholesterol and blood sugars. And we might tend to eat a little bit less of it because you feel more nourished when eating a little bit more fiber in your diet. So definitely, yeah, so brown rice, quinoa, beans also another alternative, farro, buckwheat, barley. There's lots of different ones. They're actually on our shopping list as well.
Yeah, and pastas now come in different like plant-based, you know, options like chickpea pasta, lentil pastas that you can probably find in your local market. I know Trader Joe's has them. And they have a lot of fiber again. And if you mix it up with like some vegetables and a protein, it makes a great meal. And because of the fiber in these kind of carbohydrates, you will stay fuller longer. It will reduce your cravings for, you know, snacking too.
Next question. Can you please advise if plantains are a healthy choice? This is a big Latino household. This is big in Latino households and very much enjoyed.
Yeah, so plantains, what we call in Spanish, los víveres, which is all the, you know, Caribbean vegetables. They're truly not vegetables. They're more carbohydrates. So think of plantains, the green banana, the sweet bananas, the cassava, the yams. Those are all carbohydrates. So again, you know, as long as you're keeping it to a serving size, a smaller quantity at mealtime, you can still use them. I think the key that we want to kind of like promote is that you're also building around the vegetables and the leafy greens and your salads and your protein. So if you're having plantains, maybe think of half a plantain with other things on that plate to help you feel full.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question. Thank you, panelists. Great discussion. Can the panelists give us insight on some of today's challenges or common themes they face when educating their patients on nutrition and well-being?
Sure, I can take that one. So one of the things that I may cover during the session, which I find that my employees find beneficial, is just looking at food labels. We can spend a half-hour session just looking at food labels and deciphering what a food label looks like and what it all means. And we covered that a little bit during the session, but we look at food labels, we'll look at ingredients, and just decipher, like, what is that ingredient? Why is it there? I don't even know what that means. So sometimes, so that's a challenge that we face, I think, as dietitians, because a lot of our patients might be eating certain foods or come out of a box or a bag that they may not actually even know what they're taking in. So I'll spend a lot of time with my employees just doing that. So if anybody's interested in that, we can definitely do a whole session on it. I find that can be really helpful for our employees to really look at the ingredients and food labels and learn more.
Yeah, I would say that could also lead into like beverages, like what are we drinking? How much hidden sugar is in beverages that we're drinking, whether it's Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, or like even like juices that we pick up at the market for breakfast and lunch, like the naked juices, the orange juice, the apple juice, the cranberry juice. So there's a lot of hidden sugar. And so again, like Jennifer said, when we bring up the label of your favorite beverage on our computer at our visit, and we showed you like this beverage has 45 grams of sugar and there's no fiber. And so what you're doing is basically drinking something that is misleading. You think it's nutritious because the label has this very attractive label saying healthy, just all this beautiful labeling can really lead you to grab it off the shelf, but in return it's just full of calories and sugar. And sometimes people, go through their day just relying on beverages, and this is why they're not hungry or not eating, and they'll come to my session and they'll say, I really don't eat much. But when you do a diet recall and you sit down with this patient and you collect the information they're sharing with you, you realize they're drinking a lot of sugary drinks, and this is why they're not hungry. It could be Starbucks in the morning with like added pumps of caramel and sugar, and then whipped cream and honey, and things that we add to our drinks in the morning, sugar in our coffee, honey in our tea, and then we lead into Coca-Cola and orange juice. So there's a lot of calories that comes from these beverages, and this is how we get our energy going, so we're not feeling hungry. And then by the time we get home, we realize we haven't nourished our body any fiber, any protein, any fresh vegetables. And so now we could eventually overeat in the evening hours when we're home, and maybe eat until bedtime. And in the morning, we restart the cycle with, again, not waking up hungry and then relying on beverages to keep us going for the day.
Questions here. We got 2 minutes left. Should someone with diabetes stay away from yuca?
So yuca is no different than rice or bread. I think it's a carbohydrate. Again, it's a simple carbohydrate. So your body's going to break it down very quickly for energy. You might also notice that if you're eating these simple carbohydrate vegetables, if you were to check your blood sugar 2 hours after this meal, depending on how much of the food you ate, you might notice a higher blood sugar 2 hours after you consume this one yuca dish or plantain dish or rice and bean dish. So it's not that it's not good for you. It's not that you shouldn't eat it. I think it goes back to portion and also eating it with other food groups that can also be complementary to that meal.
One more question. My doctor has me on Mounjaro, 10 milligrams. I do not have an appetite. I find myself forcing myself to eat, but my weight is not going down. My A1C is perfect now, but the weight not so good. Any advice?
That's interesting. Well, I mean, I would definitely bring this up with your doctor, because you might be a dosage issue, so definitely bring it up with your physician. But what I would say as far as appetite is just making sure that you're maybe have consistent times, even if it's small nourishing, like small frequent meals, even like, maybe like a high fiber, like piece of toast with like a natural peanut butter or something, just a small, something that's nourishing, or, maybe like yogurt and some berries, just something that combines a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrate, maybe some veggies throughout the day. Again, just kind of small, consistent timing of meals may kind of stimulate the appetite a little bit. But any medication concerns, I definitely want you to go back and talk to your physician about.
I would say that it may be at higher doses needed for the Mounjaro. Sometimes patients will need 12.5 milligrams or higher. But I do recommend that you also spend time with a nutritionist, because you might find that even if you're eating very little, you might have some hidden calories in what you're eating. And so this is a good time to have someone spend time going over your diet for the week and see whether they can help you. Because if don't have an appetite, but you're not losing weight, there must be some calorie mismatch there in terms of how you're going to lose your ability to lose weight. And one last thing, and I know we're at time, is we never had a time to discuss going out, but that's our barrier. I think people eat out too much, and they eat out in restaurants all the time. And there's a consumption of alcohol in the process too. And I think that adds to a lot of calories weekly to people when they spend the time on the weekends or some other times eating out. So make sure that, when you eat out, you try to avoid the breads. You share meals as much as you're able to, and when you sit down. And I'll let the nutritionist comment, but that's a big barrier that we have in New York City, because people eat out a lot and also drink alcohol to the point where it increases calories. I don't know if they want to add and I guess we're at time, but want to add any comments on that?
Sure. I would say also another thing that you can consider doing is looking at the menus of restaurants you might be dining out, because if you choose what you're going to eat at home when you're not hungry, will help you when you get to the restaurant. You already know what you're going to eat. So the temptation will be that you're going to stick to the plan. You're going to pick the food you picked at home, and you don't reach the restaurant and now, choose an entree that maybe is higher in fat or carbohydrates, or, it's made fried instead of baked. So look at the menus before dining out. It could help eliminate, poor choices.
Thank you. This was awesome. It was a wealth of information. I want to thank everyone here that took time out of their busy schedules and their busy time to actually talk to us and share this knowledge. I want to let everybody else know that this I believe was recorded, so we'll send out a link if you missed it, or if you weren't able to, to stay for the, for the full length of the session. Again, thank you, panelists. And if anybody here wants to become a member of HOLA, just email Sean Lee, Katari Villanueva, or myself. We'd be happy to add you to the distribution. Abby, I see you want to say something.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Frank and Katari and Dr. Vega. And Sean, I just want to let everyone know, if they're interested in seeing if anyone's interested in seeing Jennifer or Maria for nutrition, for diabetes management, please email us at wellness@mountsinai.org. Again, wellness@mountsinai.org. And we're happy to set up an appointment. We're really flexible in terms of Jennifer and Maria do video visits, telephone, or in person. So let us know, and please feel free to email us with any appointment request. And we work as part of a team with your doctor, with Dr. Vega, and with all the primary care doctors at Mount Sinai. We work as part of the team, your medical team. So thank you so much, everyone.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Have an excellent day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.